Covering all things baseball. Now, here are your hosts, Patrick Harris and Joe Fisher on 1080 The Fan.
Welcome into the Hot Corner. Howdy, my friends.
Let's go.
We're still working on that, Joe. I'm sorry.
Woo!
It's just got to come. It's just got to come.
Hey, it was a long weekend.
It'll eventually get there.
Yeah, I mean, we're like 2 months in this season, so if you could figure it out anytime soon.
If you could do your effing job,
If you could
that'd be
get
amazing.
Get your S together, for God's sakes.
It's like that line in Office Space. What would you say you do here?
Host a baseball show.
I mean, I could go like old style producer and write you guys like a little 4-word script. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some fun, quirky opener.
That'd be amazing. Hope everybody had a great and safe Memorial Day weekend. Shout out to the troops and all of those that have
To the
fallen for our wonderful rights in this amazing country that we live in that still doesn't have water in places and healthcare is out of control and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it was a great day or a great weekend to be an American. Beautiful, beautiful weekend out at Trillium Lake for me, except for Saturday. Saturday was kind of a mess, but Sunday and Monday made up for it weather-wise.
The only way I can tell you to spend a great weekend representing America is to go to Idaho.
Oh, the most boring state in the union.
I went to Idaho, my friend, and it was not boring.
You hit some sick rapids.
Some sick rapids, bro. Shred the gnar.
Some sick Class 5s, bro.
Hang out with the racists?
I met this guy who was sick. They were camping next to us, and I was like, oh, man, you don't feel good? Like you just hung over?
And now you're back in this confined space with me.
No,
Sweet,
no,
dude.
it's fine.
Thank you.
I was like, oh, are you just hungover? He was like, no, man, dude, I'm super sick. Like the night before I took, and he said some drugs that he took, and they were like 3 things that all sounded like horse tranquilizers. And I was like, well, hey, man, maybe that's why you don't feel good right now.
Took some ivermectin, some ketamine, mixed them both together.
What a night.
No,
I mean, it was awesome for like 15 minutes.
it was the weirdest thing, dude. You just meet people out there, and he was like from Bozeman, Montana. And Bozeman, Montana is a great place. But I met him, and he said, like, these were the drugs he took, and I would never even know what they are or how to find them. But then somebody was like, oh, Jesus, is what a friend of mine said. And if they responded that way, then I thought to myself, this was probably not a great idea, amigo.
This specific friend, when they were caught off guard by it,
Yeah.
when they were like, "Oh my God."
Yeah. Great human, but like they're in the know.
Yeah, well, that will happen on rafting trips in Idaho. I heard those things are just lousy with horse tranquilizer type drugs and just it's basically like a rave out there.
Basically.
From what I understand.
What happens in Idaho backwoods stays in Idaho.
Just don't let the cops find you because they're not going to be happy with what you got.
They'll
Like
get-
weed is a big deal. You got some weed on you, you going to jail.
they'll get down.
You got some ivermectin though, it's like, well, hey, he might be a rancher or something, so we'll let it slide.
Nice horse parasite remover, ivermectin. That'll get you effed up.
COVID healer.
Totes. Yeah, man.
prophecy from several
Totally.
very, 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 very trustworthy national media sources.
It was a little cold out there. I'm excited to be here.
How cold was it there? Like, what was the lowest it got to while you were camping? I'm
Well,
curious.
I showed up on Thursday at about 1 o'clock, and it was 38 degrees.
Oh my God,
38.
you guys.
That's about the temperature it was when I showed up to Trillium Lake on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the water was warmer than the outside, which is really weird. The water was probably about 40, 41 degrees.
Hot tub it.
But there was times when it got to like 65, and then you went in the shade and it was 45.
Yeah, Sunday was awesome. at out at Trillium Lake.
I had a nice Sunday as well.
Saturday was like when we got near Mount Hood and Government Camp in that area, and the weather wasn't like getting any better. And then I noticed on the GPS that the turn was coming up to turn right to go towards Trillium Lake, and it was just the temperature was staying the same, below 40. There was, it wasn't like downpouring rain, but it was raining. It was a solid little sprinkle going on. There was definitely a feeling that came over me that I was like, yeah, I definitely should have told the girlfriend I just wanted to stay home this
Yeah,
weekend.
just
there was instant regret.
I think you mentioned that last week that you were looking ahead to it and you were like, oh,
We'll see,
this is a
we'll
good
see.
idea.
But Sunday made up for it. It was beautiful on Sunday. I think it got up to like 63-ish, 64 over at Trillium Lake.
Oh, that's the Sahara when you're camping.
out in
God.
Mount Hood, yeah. And
God.
the clouds, like, they ended up going away so you could see the mountain perfectly. And so we did a nice little walk around the lake, and it was great. Great food. Also, my rock skipping skills, insane.
On point.
Top tier.
Just like did a little work. Like you knew the first few were going to be bad, but then you started focusing, really looking at rocks.
Really got that elbow tucked in and got
little
that
submarine action.
Oh yeah, dude, that sidearm, it was nasty.
How's your back feel? You
I'm
okay?
fine. I'm
Okay.
fine. The hips
I
were
was-
real oily out there. It was really good.
I always worry about those submarine guys. It's not just the elbow. Like the elbow looks crazy, but I worry about your back.
Oh no, I'm all good. I got that good hip rotation. They say that the golf swing is a lot like skipping rocks.
Ooh.
It's because on the downswing you want to get that elbow tucked in and
Get
you
on
want to
YouTube right
dip.
now.
You want to dip right there. And yeah, my girlfriend could not have been more horned up with the amount of skips I was getting in my rock. She was
Dude.
looking at me, biting her lip.
Dude, some Swamp A tent boogie? Like that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, she was real aroused with that rock skipping.
I went solo by myself. The wife stayed home, so I had to imagine tent boogie.
Ew.
I mean, tent boogie's fun, but it also can be quite awful. So maybe that was better.
Dude, we're getting boned with the Hulu login right now. What's going on?
I have no idea, dude.
What the hell
Oh,
is
I got-
happening?
Got me set up in here. Minnesota leads 66-62 halfway through the third.
Oh, finally. You finally show up. That's what's really funny to me. So we stayed in Lewiston, Idaho, for a night before we had to drive another, 2.5, 3 hours to get to where we're going. And it's 5 hours to Lewiston. And we watched game one of the Western Conference Finals. And we're sitting there at this bar in the Clearwater River Casino and Resort. Let me tell you, resort was false advertisement.
Playing with that word a little loosely
Yeah,
there.
even casino was a little loose. And
We
we
One
have-
table, 2 slots.
Yeah, we have 5
No
slot
tables.
machines total.
no tables.
No tables.
No tables.
That's-
Okay,
Sucks.
that is not a casino. That's a deli.
And
Yes.
we're in the bar, and the bar looks like a high school cafeteria. And they said, just so you know, if you're staying overnight, the restaurant won't be open because one of our coworkers unfortunately passed away, and the service is tomorrow. We were like, wow, this is insane. I got to get out of here. And we watched the Mavericks beat the Timberwolves in game one, and we were kind of like, wow, that's crazy. And then we exited the grid and had no idea what happened in any of sports from Wednesday night to Monday at about 1 o'clock. And that is a wild thing to just, for us that like eat, sleep, and breathe sports, it's wild to not know
completely
what's going
disconnect
on.
like that.
I mean, it was Thursday night, and we were like, wow, I wonder, you think the Celtics beat the Pacers tonight? Yeah, I mean, probably, but like, who was the guy? Was it Brown? Was it Tatum? Did White go off? Was Drew just like a monster on defense? Did Halliburton play? We have no idea.
Yeah, it felt very dirty of me because Saturday afternoon night, because there is service up at Trillium Lake. You get a few bars. And so someone that was camping with our group was a Celtics fan. So he brought out the iPad to watch like the second half or the fourth
Nice.
quarter or something like that. So we did watch that, but it didn't feel good. I felt like it was wrong.
Yeah.
That I shouldn't be doing this.
I'm breaking rules right now.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like camping. It's like no TV, no watching anything unless you're the 2-year-old that was at the campsite that just needed to be, put in a relaxive state because she was throwing up or pooping her pants or whatever. It's like, just watch your Coco Melon, I guess. We'll give you that. But for an adult watching like live television, a live sports broadcast while camping, no, I didn't. It just didn't sit right.
Yeah, on Sunday we had somebody who had to run into town because they had to get some service, which is 40 miles away. They had to get some service to check on something, and I said, "Hey, while you're there, can you check the basketball scores and the hockey scores if you got a second?" And they forgot, and they came back, and for a brief moment, I was sad that they forgot, but then it was like, you know what? We'll figure it out tomorrow.
I mean, I don't know, you guys. I don't agree with the whole like not watching anything while you're camping. I'm more of a glamper, so but
So
if,
you have a TV in said
if the
RV.
a
on my
little Starlink.
yeah. Oh God, no Elon Musk Starlink there. We can't get it anywhere, but we can watch TV. But really, beyond that, even if I didn't want to watch TV, usually we just set up the radio. Like, have you guys never? I mean, we work in radio. Did you not think to bring a radio to find the signal?
There is no signal
a
where I
game.
was. Fortunately,
Now, that makes
Sirius
sense.
XM clicked in, but I'm not trying to like play a baseball game on my Sirius XM while I'm out there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just when I'm camping, it's just the last thing on my mind is what is going on back in the real world. And
Yeah,
what
it's like a
just-
fleeting moment that flies through your brain. You're like, oh, right.
Yeah, I wonder what's happening.
I
but-
assume the Timberwolves blew out the Mavericks in game 2 because they lost game 1, right? Oh, okay. We'll move past that.
Yeah. But no, it was. I'm just glad that we got some good weather, and that I realized that is the closest I've been to Old Mountain Hood, as we called it over the weekend.
Mountain Hood.
Mountain Hood.
Oh, Mountain
It's-
Hood,
it's-
I'm
it's-
coming up to
It's
see ya.
Christian name.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's real name. I haven't been that close in a damn long time. I don't go snowboarding or skiing or anything
Yeah.
like that. No snow activities. To see that thing just bam right there, I was pleasantly surprised, and it was gorgeous.
All up in your grill. Oakley Dokley. Well, we have a baseball show for you tonight. There's a lot to get to. Stop me if you've heard this before. We'll get to that in about 15 minutes. Also, the end of an era, an icon, is leaving us.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll also look at the National League and kind of take a peek around. There's a couple teams that aren't playing very well, and if the season ended right now, they'd be in the playoffs. So we'll take a look around the National League and see what teams need to do to get better. Plus, we'll have fair or foul at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. But when we come back, I have to use a moment to speak about something, and we'll do that next. This is the Hot Corner today, the Fan.
What would you say you do here?
What's your opinion?
It's thick, it's meaty.
The AAA Heating and Cooling Poll Question.
Yes, just this last weekend.
718 Portland Sports Leader, don't you forget it. We are live from the shadows of the historic Fremont Bridge. Coming up in about 15 minutes. Stop me if you've heard this before. And in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll dive into the National League and see teams that are playing well and teams that aren't and see what's going on, because it is a mess in the National League right now. But I'd like to start here. You know, it's funny. I got into service at about 11 o'clock a.m. yesterday, and I got the word that the legend Bill Walton passed away. And
yeah.
It's been really interesting. I listened to ESPN radio, and I listened to, you know, some other stuff just kind of talking about it, and it's wild to see somebody that I feel like we teased a lot and a lot of people maybe never took him very seriously, to see the outpouring of how beloved and amazing this man was.
Hell yeah, dude.
Obviously, us here in Portland, we have a huge connection to Bill Walton, as he brought us our only title.
See, you did it right there. What was driving me nuts yesterday on ESPN and Sports Center is
Celtic legend Bill Walton.
No, but whenever they would bring up the Trailblazers title, they're like, their only title.
Yeah,
It seemed
is
like
funny.
they made
Thank
sure
you.
to let people know.
And
By the way, that is their only championship. Reminding you guys, you know, it's almost been 50 years. Their only one.
And I mean that as lovingly, of our only title. And they're just like, remember, the Blazers suck. You remember they just traded Dame Lillard. You know, those guys, they're idiots. You know, LaMarcus, all that stuff. The 99 playoffs against the Lakers.
Dude, Van Pelt did it. There was, I might have been Wilbon during their little produced piece that they had, but there was multiple times just there. I'm like, oh, yeah, we know. We know it's our only one, okay? Stop. Thank you.
But I want to talk about Bill Walton for a completely different reason.
Oh, I know which route you're going.
I feel like Bill's in a weird way looking down on this stupid little baseball show that we do, as the bumper music that came back is Goose. They are a jam band. That song is called Hunger Sight. I love that. They cover a lot of the Grateful Dead. And for me, you know, I was thinking about it, and I was talking with you, Joe, today about what are we going to talk about? You know, we're both kind of out of the realm for a little bit over the weekend, trying to figure out what's happened in baseball, how to build this show, how to talk to you about baseball. And I sat in my car all day yesterday listening to stories about Bill and all this kind of stuff. And what really resonates to me is that Bill Walton, first and foremost, was a basketball player, maybe, but second and foremost, Bill Walton was a Deadhead. And as somebody who just came back from a trip where I was introduced to the Grateful Dead when I was about 8 years old, and have been listening to that band for 30 years. I guess I'm 38. If I said 8, then about 30 years. The coolest thing I ever loved about Bill Walton, other than the fact that he just loved life better than anybody else, is that Bill Walton and I shared two loves. We shared a love for the Pac-10, the Pac-12, and we shared a love for the Grateful Dead. And I saw today on Instagram, Mickey Hart, who's one of the two drummers for the Grateful Dead, posted today talking about how Bill was his best friend and one of the most amazing people, and an honorary member of the Dead. And just thinking about Bill Walton, and I think the thing I love about him the most is that even though basketball was his job, it wasn't the only thing that he loved. And I think that's important to remember, that your job is not who you are. It is a part of what you are, but it is not who you are. And he's a Dead guy just like me, and that makes me feel special.
Well, the passion for the Dead and jam bands, it does not go unnoticed, as the Vancouver Ford text line. Someone chimes in, thanks for the Goose bumper music. So they recognize it as well. And yeah,
and we wouldn't have Goose bumper music if we didn't have the Grateful Dead.
Yeah. So and this is the one time of year where I will not crack a joke about jam bands or the Grateful Dead, because there is something about that following, that fan base, that that cult-like following of the band.
It's
that
borderline
is-
religious.
Yeah, it's simply, it's like, you know, it reminds me a lot of one of your other favorite band followings is the Dave Matthews Band. And that kind of falls in that same lane as far as genre goes. And it's really amazing to see that connection come through after this, and people remember, like you said, all the things that he truly loved and was known for outside of his basketball career. And that it almost seems like when, you know, unfortunately when this moment happens, like that is almost second fiddle to everything else. Like it's him being a deadhead, him being a commentator, him loving the Pac-12, him being a rights activist in multitude of ways, his love for nature. And then it's like, oh yeah, and the dude was one of the best basketball players of all time.
Oh, side note.
Keep in mind.
I got to see Bill Walton. I never met him, but I got to see him call a Wazoo game in
I got
Pullman.
to see Bill
and it's
Walton.
like, oh my God, that's Bill Walton.
I got to see Bill Walton in a very strange way. It was almost like seeing like a like this figure that wasn't real. Like, so I was in Eugene, I was going to school and trying to get to class one morning and driving around campus, trying to find a parking spot somewhere. And there's this really big parking lot right across the street from campus off of 13th, over by where Taylor's used to be. But I think it was more so for like faculty and staff. And I think some students could park there. But there's this SUV that parked there, and I'm driving by the parking lot and I just see this giant of a man. And it was Bill Walton. But in that moment, I'm like, holy crap, was that Bill Walton? And so sure enough, I had to park my car and then look up, like, is there an Oregon basketball game tonight?
Yeah.
Who are they playing?
Yeah.
What channel is it on? Like,
Right.
what the hell is happening? Because I think that was Bill Walton. It was one of those moments where I'm like, dude, that I don't know who else that could have been. A giant of a man with that hairstyle and that look, like in the split second of seeing him. And then sure enough, later that night, I see he is in Oregon. He's calling the game for ESPN. And he was also there at the library because he had this big love for the Oregon Library and the history behind that. Like, that dude knew so much, and again, had so many passions that there was this whole backstory of why he was at the library that day and got there, 12 hours before the game was even ready to go and ready to start because he was doing something at the library. I think it was maybe when he was doing his book tour or something.
About his bicycle?
Yeah, possibly, or volcanoes. But yeah, that was one of those moments where I saw Bill Walton. I couldn't believe it. It was like almost like seeing Sasquatch in the wild. And but yeah, I mean, that dude, he is absolute legend in this area. Sucked to see, obviously, that he passed. To use the old Norm Macdonald joke, I didn't even know he was sick. But yeah, I'm sure that seeing that yourself because of the connection you have with the music that you and him both like, I'm sure that was tough.
Yeah, and I think one thing for music, I love the idea bands that play a ton of shows a year. I told this story to Jason and Isaac as they were leaving the studio. Something that's really cool. I mean, like, Bill Walton wasn't just a fan. Like, if there's a Mount Rushmore of the greatest Grateful Dead fans, deadheads as we call them, Bill Walton's up there. And he's up there with a guy named Richard, who became the first ever archivist of the Grateful Dead. He was a big tape trader, and he listened to so many shows and went to so many shows, and was eventually hired by the band because he told them it was very special to save your recordings and potentially release those. And so there's this wonderful series for the Grateful Dead called Dick's Picks. Picks. P-I-C-K-S, like I chose this, not Brett Favre stuff. But
the dude was revolutionary.
But
what he before.
Yeah, but what he would do is he would
century.
say, "Hey, I love this show from 77 or 72 or 68 or 88 and 92." And he would say, "We should master this and release it." And they created Dick's Picks, and he has over 50 releases from that. And that would have never started without Bill Walton. Bill Walton found him at a show randomly and said, "Hey, I love your shirt. Where can I get one of those?" And Dick took the shirt off and gave it to Bill. And Bill said, "Hey, come with me." And he introduced them to the band. And Dick became the first ever archivist of the Grateful Dead. and was the gatekeeper of their live releases. And when he eventually died, he passed that on to Dave Lemieux. Dave Lemieux is also on the Mount Rushmore because now he has Dave's picks in honor of Dick, and none of that. We have all these soundboards and high quality. You can go on Spotify, whatever your services, and you can find all these. And all that was created from Bill Walton simply because he just was a happy guy. And he felt that the dead can give you some happiness. I was just on this trip and I said, I can't wait till Sunday. And everybody was like, well, what's on Sunday? And I said, well, on Sunday, it's the Lord's Day, so we play the dead. It's Grateful Sunday. And I can't figure out what show I should play. And I ended up playing Egypt in 78. And sure enough, Bill Walton was at those shows when they played Egypt around the pyramids. And I don't know, I'm tangenting, I'm channeling my inner Bill Walton right now, but I think that's amazing. Wonderful human being, obviously a Portland legend, but touches me in ways that goes beyond basketball.
Well, it's funny that, the moment that I remember where I saw Bill Walton down in Eugene at the U of O campus, and I went back to find, like, all right, what was the reason he was there? Because I knew he was at the library for some specific reason, but he went to the library, and I love this because the headline for the story is Library Fan, Bill Walton. Like, of course he was a library fan. I love libraries, the books, the stories, like that.
The
that
magical places they can take you.
The silence is just deafening, but yet beautiful. But he was there paying a visit to the night library, hooking up with two former members of Ken Kesey's Merry Pranksters.
Yep. Kesey might be the fourth member of the Dead Rushmore.
Well, and that's what I was saying. He is well known, a fan of the Grateful Dead, a band that had close ties to Kesey. Joining him in the library were Ken Babbs and Carolyn Garcia,
the bus known as Further.
both members of Kesey's counterculture group, the Merry Pranksters. Garcia was once married to Jerry Garcia, lead guitarist of the Grateful Dead. In his quote, "This is my family," Walton said. And the whole reason he was there is because of the connection to Ken Kesey, the Grateful Dead, Merry Pranksters, all of that right here. So crazy how the stars intertwine like that.
What a cool story. Like a guy that is literally known for communicating with people and wanting to make the world a better place and just, get people together. He's literally responsible for more people knowing and enjoying the Grateful Dead. So that's pretty awesome.
Rest in peace, my friend. If I saw you right now, I would tell you what I heard in an interview today. I would just roll away the dew, my friend. All right, that's me on a soapbox. Thank you to the two of you and to you listeners out there for letting me, indulging me and sharing that. I love you, Bill. I never met you, but thank you for everything. As Mickey Hart said, you're my best friend. You're one of the most wonderful people in the world. And as Bill always said, I'm the luckiest man alive. Kudos to you, my friend. We come back. I hate to say it. Usually I like to say it because it sounds funny, but I hate to say it. Stop me if you've heard this before. But first, Schultze with sports.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Minnesota Timberwolves playing for their season right now, facing off in Game 4 against the Dallas Mavericks. They're down 3-0 in the Western Conference Finals. Getting going here in the fourth quarter in just a couple of minutes. Minnesota does lead 78-73 so far, led by Anthony Edwards. He's hit a couple of threes, 8 total shots for 23 points. Karl Anthony Towns adding 15. Mike Conley with 13 points as well. And Luka Doncic so far scoring 21 for the Mavs. On to baseball, the first-place Mariners looking to win back-to-back games against the Houston Astros. They're up at T-Mobile Park right now, and it is the top of the fourth inning. The M's do still lead 1-0 thanks to an RBI single from Julio Rodriguez, scoring Josh Rojas in the first inning. In college baseball, the regions for the field of 64 officially set as the road to Omaha begins. Oregon State earning a host site. They're going to play games in Corvallis on Friday against 4-seed Tulane. The Ducks heading to Santa Barbara as the 3-seed. They're facing off against 2-seed San Diego at noon on Friday. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultze at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue.
Five zero 6326 is the Vancouver Ford text line. All text the fan or via the Vancouver Ford text line. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford that you should write before, during, and after the sale. Visit VancouverFord.com. I got my 2022 Ford Bronco out in the parking lot right now. Please don't rob me. They are treating me right before, during, and after. Can't say enough about our friends there. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll dive into the National League and take a look around. Boy, it's just a mess. The Central is wide open. What's going on in the East? Are the Phillies good, even though they haven't played anybody? The Dodgers, et cetera, et cetera. But let's start here. Stop me if you've heard this before, and this is probably will be the number one headline of the 2024 season. I don't care who wins the World Series. I think this is the bigger news than anything there. Ronald Acuna Jr. is out for the season as he has torn the ACL in his left knee after 2 years removed from tearing the ACL in his right knee. And before we talk about what this means for the Braves, this is a bad blow for baseball, if I'm being honest. The last time this happened, the Braves won the World Series. But when you look at fantasy baseball drafts, when you look at us idiots that are projecting, to channel Sook a little bit about, who's the face of baseball? Like, I don't want to do that, but like Ronald Acuna is a face of baseball. I like to think baseball is more than one person, even though Shohei is Shohei. I like to think there's other dudes. Losing Ronald Acuna for the 2024 season, as I feel baseball is gaining some momentum, is pretty difficult.
Yeah, pretty difficult in general. I mean, like, in this year, I was reading an article today. I mean, we already knew this, but with hitting being down as much as it is, like just losing any pop in any lineup at this point, any big name on that side of the play is just it really takes the wind out of the sails for the league, but especially, I mean, for this Braves team. I mean, he wasn't having a Ronald Acuna-esque season
Yet.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, we saw Judge, start putting some things together. We saw Jose Ramirez start putting some things together, and good baseball players figure it out. So was it just a matter of time? But now we don't get to see that, and you just got to feel that in that clubhouse, in that fan base, that you want to talk about wind out of the sails. It's just like you're losing one of your leaders, if not your leader on that side of the ball. It's just devastating.
Well, I think one of the most difficult things about it is, like, let me just dial this back for a minute. Let's just take the name off the jersey for a second. Last year, we have a bunch of new rule changes where yours truly here is very skeptical of, is very much like, pitch clock, larger bases, I don't know. You're trying to create offense, but shorten the game. The more hits you have, the longer the game goes because of pitching changes, et cetera, et cetera.
Taking away the shift.
And Ronald Acuna made me a believer in the new rules. I mean, he stole 80 bags last year, something we haven't seen since Ricky, and Ricky hasn't played since he played in the early 2000s, but let's be real. Like, Ricky hasn't played since the mid-90s, late 90s, and now we have this resurgence of stolen bases. Like, I'm in a fantasy league where stolen bases are things people are talking about, and we never talked about them because we didn't care, because nobody ever did it. So even if you take the name off the back of the jersey, he was doing things that nobody else thought would happen from the rule changes. He's the reigning National League MVP. I still thought, up until I heard about this injury, that the Braves were the best team in the National League. I know the Dodgers are the Dodgers, but the Braves 5-9 blows the Dodgers 5-9 out of the water. And losing him is, I think, the worst thing that could have happened to baseball this year.
I mean, in general, for the league, you're now looking at the 10th major star that's very marketable, Mike Trout. How many other pitchers that you've seen go down, where essentially guys that are in your commercials for the postseason or the All-Star game right now are gone. So now no fair-weather fan has a reason to tune in because the names they recognize are down. And then for the Braves, you talk about the Dodgers in comparison. One thing the Braves do have is a lot better 5-9, and they have a lot better protection for each other in that lineup. Ultimately, the protection that Acuna offers to Ozzy Albies to everybody else on that roster is now gone, and that's a big deal. Obviously, the stolen bases are big as well with the rule changes, but that's something, man, they're going to be pitched to a lot more aggressively by starters now, going every game into Atlanta.
I saw the opening day roster for the Atlanta Braves has played one game together.
Yikes.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
That's it.
not surprised. I mean,
Riley's been a little banged up. They're platooning Kelnick out there. Azuna's missed a couple games, not bad, but guys just miss games.
Kelnick's going to start now. Every game is
Of
what
course,
I read.
Kelnick's going to start now, and let's move that to this Braves conversation. I saw today that the Braves are not. They're saying it now. We'll see what happens when the deadline comes, but the Braves are saying we're looking more internally for the Acuna replacement. And while I love that, because you're kind of saying, hey, we've got a great farm system, which they do, and we're going to move that up, but it also makes me wonder if the Braves are kind of showing their hand here and saying, I don't know if we can trust him to be healthy all the time now.
talking about Acuna being
Yeah, that we've got to start looking internally and saying, can these guys be viable players in case Acuna goes, Reds Griffey or Trout now, or you had a flash and now we just can't rely on you, so we have to have someone internally instead of trading away all our guys to get people to come in to replace you. The Braves are run really well, but I wonder if they tip their hand there.
Well, the thing is with Acuna, I mean, the thing they have going for him is that he's not signed to an insane deal, right? It's not
Right.
one of these 10-year, 300 million. It was what when they signed him. It was a 9-year, 95.
We talked
8
about
or
this.
9
He's,
like that.
he's one of those young guys that took money up front, and that's going to help them from a payroll standpoint.
He's still 26. Like, whether he'll be able to.
But he's not coming back until the All-Star game next year.
I get it. But the way that ACLs are now, like, you tore both one in each knee now.
Mm-hmm.
If it keeps happening and it's just more knee injuries after more, like, yeah, there's a cause for concern, but I don't know. I feel like with his age and if you look at his games played by season, I mean, his rookie year, 111. Year after that, in 2019, 156. In 2020, he gave you 46 in that 60-game season. 2021, first knee injury, 82 games. 2022, 119. Last year, 159. And then he's done for the year with 49. So there's a lot of at least 119, 111 games played in his career.
Well, the best thing about him, shout out Bill Walton, is he loves baseball.
Yeah.
So if he can play, he's gonna play.
Yeah,
But to be a little biased and look at a player that I love, that I absolutely loved in a different sport who dealt with something like this, obviously not the caliber of Ronald Acuna, but somebody who won titles and was great. This reminds me of Klay Thompson. Okay, Klay Thompson was absolutely phenomenal. 2 knee surgeries and then an Achilles, and he's done. Done.
Well, I would say the Achilles is probably what.
The Achilles is probably the one,
Hurt
but
him more.
even after the 2 knees, it was like that's not the Klay we're used
Yeah,
to.
but I mean,
Am I crazy on this?
No, but I don't want to, and I'm not a sports, doctor, but I would say that, like, when it comes to basketball versus baseball, which one do you need to have better knees in?
Basketball.
You know, it's a little bit more hips,
Fair.
upper
Fair
body in baseball, whereas, like, knees, yeah, it's important for, like, sprinting and stealing bases like he does. But as far as that up and down jumping motion that happens in basketball, I mean, that's why you see dudes with giant ice packs around their knees after NBA games because they're literally disintegrating by the second. So that's where, again, like torn ACLs, yeah, they suck. But as far as like baseball player goes, I mean, it's May. He might be back by the beginning of next season.
Real quickly, and then we'll get out on this. Does this change your perspective on the Braves? The last time this happened, the Braves won the World Series.
Yes. I mean, again, he was not having a Ronald Acuna type season.
There's no Spencer Strider.
He had 4 home runs and I think like 15 RBIs. He had a good amount of stolen bases, but it's just been a weird season already for him and the Braves. And just losing him and the potential of, like what you said, like he wasn't playing like Acuna yet, but now knowing that you just will not have him there anymore, it is a total blow to this team's psyche. That if you're looking at, the top of the National League, the Phillies team, the NL East, they're licking their chops. They're like, this is ours for the taking now.
Yeah, really quickly, Patrick, I kind of want to side with Joe on this one. I'm usually a conspiracy theory guy. I love it. I love putting the tinfoil hat on like 90% of the time. But the market for hitters, I mean, regardless of what teams wanted to pay, it didn't seem like teams were very hot on free agents this year. I kind of see that as maybe a reason for the Braves looking internally. And it can have success. Look at what the Mariners did last year with Mike Ford. He came up with 13 homers, 40-some ribbies. And then the Reds did the same thing with him this year. It's possible to find internal solutions.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. We'll keep an eye on them. But for the 12th year in a row of the 10 years we've done this, my World Series prediction doesn't sound really awesome, as I still pick the Braves as I do every year. And I think the only year I didn't was in 2021. So we'll keep an eye on the Braves and see what this Acuna thing does. I just hope it doesn't put baseball a step back. When we come back, somebody else is stepping back. And
I think we're happy about this one.
I think we're a little more excited about this, but let's dive a little more into the X's and O's on that. This is the Hot Corner, 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube, Twitch,
Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, at the bottom of the hour, we'll have fair or foul as we always do, and we'll touch on the National League. Joe and I were just talking during the break about if you're down 3-0, do you just mail it in and kind of say, hey, this has never happened, so I don't know
So
what
screw
we're going to do.
Cancun on 3.
Galveston on 3.
Galveston.
Galveston on 3. But we finally had the end of an era in baseball, and that is Angel Hernandez, 30-plus year umpire in Major League Baseball, has decided to call it quits. Now, I don't know if there's ever been a headline in the history of baseball, and you know me, I'm a history nut when it comes to baseball. I don't know if I've ever heard of an umpire calling it quits in the middle of a season. But here we are with Angel Hernandez calling it quits. I think Ken Rosenthal tweeted out that there was pressure from Major League Baseball to get him to resign. And Angel's,
like, Angel, for the love of God,
and
please.
like a mutual resignation. But Angel's lawyer came out and said that Major League Baseball did not do that. So a little bit of squirrely sources there on that. But what I find interesting, and I think the first thing that comes to my brain, like I've seen a ton of awesome memes, all right? When Angel Hernandez takes a selfie and it's like his ear. You know, it's like not his face, it's just his ear because he's way outside.
Him signing his resignation papers and he signed it to the
Like
right
all the
of the
all the
dotted line,
boxes that you need to check are like checked outside the box.
just a bit outside.
So it's been really funny to see those memes. But what I thought was interesting is, and somebody that I critique heavily and will continue, Aaron Boone came out and said he felt that Angel Hernandez was just a poster child for bad umpiring and was not truly a bad umpire.
Yeah, I'm sure that you just absolutely love Aaron Boone even more after him saying that, right?
Yeah, I'm an Aaron Boone defender. Like, I'm pretty much the opposite on Aaron Boone of you, but that is one of the stupidest things out of his mouth. Like, really? Like, of course there's other bad umpires, but I think there were games where he would call, like, less than 70% of his pitches correct. So, no, he's more than just the poster boy.
Now, what I will say is, God, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to do this.
Uh-oh.
I'm not sticking up for Angel Hernandez. I think Angel Hernandez is at a point where the game is past you. That whether it's your eyesight or how pitchers manipulate pitches, whether it's a cutter or the sweeper now, and like all these pitches that have evolved, and half of them we don't even know what the name is. I was listening to Tom Hamilton call Cleveland, Colorado yesterday, and he was like, I think that was a slider, but it might have been a changeup. Hard to tell from up here, you know, and that guy's been calling games for decades and is a Hall of Fame announcer. So I don't know if Angel just got passed by on that, but the reality is like when you look at the worst moments in Angel Hernandez's history, it's really just bad calls. He didn't cost anybody a World Series. He didn't cost anybody a perfect game. So I'm curious when I think about Aaron Boone's comment about he's not the worst, he's just a poster child. How did we get to the point where Angel Hernandez became the poster child? Is it because he just doubled down?
It's because he sucked. What are we talking about here? It's like
Joe is not having this.
No, dude, there's just time and time again of him just making bad calls. And yeah, you kind of said it, doubling down. And like, besides Joe West, who he retired, and his, God, remember his whole Wikipedia page correction fiasco a couple years ago? That was great. But again, like, dude, it just never ended. Never felt like you saw any improvement from Angel Hernandez. Like, I don't care what stats you show me. There would all, like, this year with the Bryce Harper check swing call. You have the one from Schwarber when Schwarber is absolutely losing his mind on
Schwarber one is
both
rough.
sides. It's bleeped.
Dude,
Like, oh my God.
It just, I mean, again, I don't know if it was a matter of his reputation preceded himself. And so any call that was just even borderline got inflated because of him. But the fact that it just happened way too much frequency, bro, where you are at the center of effing up. So please leave. No, I'm not hearing any of it.
My last bit, because Joe, you're completely right. I was trying to play the devil's advocate here, which usually means if you're if you're playing the devil's advocate, it usually means you agree you're just being an ass.
Some thin arguments there, bruh.
The one thing, Mama didn't do Angel Hernandez any favors, and I mean it in this sense, that pronounced nose, the jawline, the way he looked at people, and again, this goes back to the doubling down, is that he has this strong character face that looks at you and says, "You're wrong, get out of here." He looks like a high school gym teacher.
Yep.
That tells you you're out. And you're like, "Yo, dude, I'm not out." And he's like, "Yeah, you're 12. I'm 40. Get out of here."
No, that indignant look in the ALCS after 3 missed calls at first base. 3 were overturned. And then that ended up, Joe Torre cited in his case that he ended up suing Major League Baseball for discrimination for not assigning him to a World Series. Oh, no, those missed calls are exactly why you weren't assigned. It had nothing to do with your skin color. It's just the look of indignance on his face was unbelievable.
Yeah, let's not forget that he tried to sue the MLB for racism.
Well, a big part of it is the umpires have a union, just like the players.
Yeah, another reason why he should have been gone 10 years ago.
Hey, man, Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa and George Springer shouldn't be in the league either.
Yeah, Alex Bregman.
Yet they are.
That.
And Alex Bregman.
Yeah, add that too.
They shouldn't be in the league either, yet they are.
Yeah.
Because they have a union, and the union has to protect Angel Hernandez.
I will say, though, I think much of the baseball community rallying around this because the top upvoted post on Reddit, on the baseball subreddit, 37,000 upvotes. Angel Hernandez to retire. Much maligned MLB umpire calls it quits. Hey, if he did make one call right, it was just leaving. And not doing like a farewell tour.
The best call he's ever made.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good call on that one.
His
Angel.
last game was May 9th. I don't know if anybody realized he hasn't been umping games for almost 3 weeks?
Well, and the last time he was on a postseason umpiring roster is like 15 years.
Good.
He used to do World Series. He used to be one of the top guys. And he hasn't been in the playoffs, let alone the World Series, for almost a decade.
Yeah, that ALCS, I think. That was his last playoff
That was
assignment.
God. So rest in peace, Angel Hernandez, not dead. But what's and we'll end on this. I know we're tangenting, we're way up against it, but when Angel Hernandez leaves, I feel like, to Joe's point, like the top voted Reddit post that Angel Hernandez is gone. It's not like Hernandez is gone and everything's gonna be just peachy keen. It's not like Hernandez is gone and we're moving to robot umps. No, the problems still remain. And I think that's what Aaron Boone is relating to. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm sticking up for Aaron Boone.
You mean like Hunter Wendelstedt throwing him out?
Well, I think that's what Aaron Boone is relating to is that there's a systemic rules versus players versus the game issue going on, that getting rid of Angel is not the end of our issues.
This was reported, though, by Ken Rosenthal that he was not forced out. Hernandez's lawyer, Kevin Murphy, told Rosenthal he was not forced out and that the MLB approached Hernandez about moving on from umpiring, and he agreed. That kind of seems like a force out. If MLB is coming up to you like, hey,
50-50.
Don't you think you should retire?
You know what?
Yeah,
I did not retire
right.
because Major League Baseball wanted me to. I'm retiring due to health concerns, praise God, and I want to spend more time with my family.
Well, does he retire if the MLB doesn't approach him about it first? That's the thing. He would have just kept going.
He would have kept going.
If they did not actually come out to him like, dude, don't you think you should just call it quits?
Can I ask you a question real quick? We'll get out on this. And think about the impact of the game. Is Angel Hernandez a Hall of Famer?
Shut up.
Stop it. Shut up. How long do we really have to think about that?
Go to hour 2, for God's sakes.
All right, when we come back, we'll take a peek around the chaotic National League, plus fair or foul at the bottom of the hour. We'll do that next. Hot Corner, Portland Sports Leader, today the Fan. app, wherever you get your podcast. 503-864-6326 is the Vancouver Ford text line. Also, we are on youtube.com/1080am The Fan. Shout out to all of that. We got a basketball game going right now. 103-100 Minnesota-Dallas in the waning seconds.
And Luka Doncic hits the 3 and 1.
That's actually a really great Marv Albert impression.
Yes.
I do love Marv Albert.
Give me the bang from Mike Breen.
Bang! Bang!
I hope that if NBC does get the NBA, that they get Marv Albert.
Oh, well, I don't think he calls games at all anymore. I think, he's...
Marv Albert doesn't call
The
games?
ear biter?
I
he's done?
I haven't heard Marv Albert call a game in a couple years, I feel like. Oh, man.
Welcome into the Rose Garden. I mean,
He's got to be at least 80.
Wow.
Dude,
I'm
Marv
feeling
Albert.
old.
Outside of that hotel situation, he's amazing.
Yeah.
82 years old, Marv
One
Albert.
could argue in that hotel situation, he was kind of amazing.
Probably bit that ear just right.
We got a lot to get to this hour. At the bottom of the hour, we'll get into fair or foul.
Yeah, he was saying, and the facial in a different context then.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, I just grew up with Marv Albert.
I
He just
know.
called all the games.
Do you see it? Commish Adam Silver today said that he does not imagine a world where the NBA on TNT pregame and postgame show is not covering B-ball. So we'll see. See if Chuck and the guys can stay together.
Yeah, if they just cover basketball but don't actually play basketball games. It'd be the opposite of ESPN, where they play basketball games but don't cover it.
Ooh, I like that.
Zing, zing, zing.
Just their own podcast, right?
I listened to Jason Sukanik go on this rant earlier today on Primetime, which you can catch at 10 of the Fan or the Odyssey app, like podcast their stuff. Like, he's spot on. Like, ESPN's coverage of the NBA is unbelievably cringy. I cannot watch it. I cannot. I won't.
Not
I
a
won't do
Malika
it.
fan. Not
I
a
won't do
Malika
it.
Andrews fan.
I won't do it.
Whoa, that is...
I think she's fine.
Hey,
I think
she-
everybody else is garbage.
she is University of Portland greatness, okay?
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, she was a
Neither did
pilot.
I.
I didn't even
Like
know
she
that.
graduated from U of P?
Yeah, she was up on the hill. University of Portland.
Good for her.
Yeah, that's why I like her. Well, and for other reasons, but... Malika, I swear to God, if the Lakers don't win the NBA Finals...
Steven, the Lakers didn't make the final. I know, but if they don't win the finals, it's garbage.
Yeah, big Malika fan.
I
Big Malika
saw
fan.
the Sixers might give a max offer to Jimmy Butler. Should
Yeah,
we talk about that for the next hour?
They're interested in LeBron, too.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. I was like, what does this have to do with LeBron?
I think
though?
LeBron should go back to
Better
Miami.
yet, what does
I
this
think he
have
should
to
go back to Miami.
What
you
does this
know?
have to do with Bronny James?
Like, nobody got mad that LeBron went back to Cleveland. If he goes back to Miami, it's like, oh, nice idea. I like Jimmy Buckets.
Hey, rare Kendrick Perkins W the other day where
doubtful.
no,
Highly doubtful.
hey, no, I couldn't believe my ears when he was saying it, but he was on ESPN basically saying that they need to stop talking about Bronny James as a draft prospect.
because
Oh,
he's
thank
garbage.
you.
Yeah, and then like everybody else on the panel was like, "Well, I don't know." And then he's like, "No, please don't, Malika. We need to stop this."
Bronny does not want to sign a two-way contract. It's like, bro, nepotism's fun, isn't it?
Congratulations, Bronny James. You are now a Portland Trailblazer.
Well, he could go back to USC, Eric Musselman. You know, take off the shirt. And I still don't understand why Musselman left
Arkansas.
that Arkansas job.
I
better
don't know
job.
either.
Are
That's-
you serious? Arkansas? USC?
Arkansas is a solid little basketball
Dude, have you
program now.
watched USC basketball?
Arkansas
More
can't
sun.
lose at home. They have
Just as much money.
They got a good little program going on down there basketball wise.
Shout out Bill Walton. I love college basketball.
And the Minnesota Timberwolves win game 4.
Game 4. Are they still alive?
Purify yourselves in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
All right, let's slide into this. We'll give you this little bit of tease. The National League and Major League Baseball seems a little bit of a mess, Joe. As I give you the standings, the best record-wise is the Philadelphia Phillies at 38-17. They got a 5.5 game lead over the Braves. They are great at home. They are great on the road. They've got a run differential of 89. However, they've played no good teams. You switch down to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who has spent $1 billion in the offseason. yet aren't really blowing people away. Like when you see the top three, the Mookie, Shohei, Freeman show, it sounds pretty great. Glass Now is putting in a great campaign. Yamamoto's been better. They got Gavin Stone, who I watched today, who threw a pretty nice game. But nobody in there is really blowing things away. And the Central is an absolute disaster, in my opinion. Is this National League? We'll do it real quick, and then we'll slide into some specific team stuff. Is the National League behind the American League in terms of quality?
I would say so, yes. But with that being said, and I've always said about this when the NFC East has teams that are like 3 games below 500 trying to win the division, I'm like, makes it pretty competitive to me, all right?
Parity.
Yeah,
League
exactly.
parity.
All these teams sucking at the same time.
These Eagles are going to be a tough out at 7-9.
So with teams in the wild card hunt, if you will, the Giants, Cubs, Padres, Cardinals, Diamondbacks, Pirates, and Nationals, all within 3 games of each other.
But I feel like if you look at those teams, if you just look at the name of the team and the standings, you'd be like, wow, wild National League race, huh? Look at all these teams. The Diamondbacks won the World Series last year. The Cardinals are the Cardinals. The Padres have been spending hella money. Chicago might have the best pitcher in the National League. The Giants spent a bunch of money. The Braves won a World Series too. But when you watch these teams, none of them really stand out to you as world beaters.
No, I think as we were talking earlier today, it's like outside of the Phillies and Dodgers, like any of these teams really giving you confidence? I mean, the Acuna loss, huge blow to the Braves. Are you really going to trust the Brewers after what they do basically every postseason and not win a single game? It seems
the
like
Brewers are the National League equivalent of the Twins.
Yes. The Giants.
The Twins are actually worse than that.
The Giants, who were one of my teams to make the playoffs and finish second in the NL West, they're kind of underwhelming at times.
Jung-Hoo Lee's done.
Yes, but they did get a win against the Phillies today, which, again, you see more wins. I think they've won 3 series in a row now. So they're starting to show signs of life, but they just really can't score runs at all. They got a negative run differential. The Cubs, they're beat up to hell. It seems like they can never be fully healthy. The Padres, just weird. We'll see if they can start pulling things together. We said a couple of weeks ago after that Luis Arias trade that they kind of have delusions of grandeur, I think, for themselves. But they might just be one of those teams that say, hey, just give us a shot. We have the talent, so if you just give us a chance, then, we could maybe make a run in the playoffs. But you look at the Cardinals. They've won 8 of their last 10. They swept my Orioles. I was disgusted.
Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt had 3 home runs in 2 games.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Finally,
That we haven't said for 5 years, friend of the show, Paul Goldschmidt.
And then, I mentioned these teams, the Diamondbacks, the Pirates, the Nationals. The Pirates and Nationals have fell off from the beginning of their season start, and the Diamondbacks really haven't gotten anything going at all to start this season. I mean, paging Corbin Carroll, whenever you want to start playing baseball, let me know. So maybe some of these teams on the back end of that, it's like, do you really believe the Pirates, Nationals are going to make a run for it? But in that kind of middle pack, again, it's like, is there anybody you can really trust until you start seeing them really make a run and dominating good teams? And the answer right now is no.
If I told you loosely, I have 6 teams in the American League that could make a run. Loosely. 6 teams in the American League that could make a run to a World Series.
Yes.
Could you give me loosely 6 teams in the National League that can make a run to the World Series?
No. I can give you 2, maybe 3.
2, maybe 3. And that's a big problem. So when we come back, let's dive into some of these teams that are kind of fringy and see what they need to do to get back at it. That's Joe Fisher, Schultze behind the glass. I'm Patrick Harris, 1080 The Fan.
It's the Vancouver Ford text line.
without the Grateful Dead, which wouldn't exist without Bill Walton.
Hey, shout out to the NCAA baseball playoffs, College World Series about to
Division
start.
3.
Let's go, baby! Ping. Patrick's favorite sound.
That is a great reminder. Next week on Monday the 3rd, Joe and I will be at the Portland Pickles game, throwing out the first pitch.
No
Dude.
pings, thank God.
I'm gonna throw the nastiest 12-6. They're
I'm-
gonna give me a contract on the spot.
Are you going to go Ephus?
No, because there will be a good amount of speed on this thing. It's not gonna have that huge slow drop like a positional player has when he comes out in the ninth. Throws a 55-mile-per-hour meatball. This thing is just gonna be a nasty Barry Zito-esque. Whoever the Pickles player that is catching this ball is going to have to drop to the knees and try and block it so it doesn't get past.
Should we practice and time ourselves? Because I'm going to swing my arms like the old days.
Oh, you're going to do a full arm rotation? And
Yeah, I'm going to do
like
the
a cartoon
like,
character.
Woom, woom, and then throw.
Maybe I go Hideo Nomo and do it all slow.
Ooh, maybe I'll go Andy Pettit and just hold the glove like right below my nose so all you see are my eyeballs.
Damn it, I'm trying to remember who's the bullpen coach for the Diamondbacks, the guy that does the look. I already forgot his name.
Oh, yeah. What was his name?
Mike something. Mike
Oh,
something
that's,
or other.
oh my God.
Mike Fetters.
Fetters?
Yes, Mike Fetters. That's what I'm
Nice.
going to do.
Well, you guys, I haven't been officially invited, but I think I'm just going to be on the sides, just kind of twirling my shirt
You're
up in the
invited. You can come down.
air. All right, I appreciate
come
that.
down.
I'll just be slamming high lifes and Sean, keep it over the plate at y'all. It'll be fun.
I'll put you on the guest list
I
so you don't
appreciate
have to pay for a ticket.
I
That does
appreciate
that does remind
The whole
you.
$7 to get in.
I would happily pay that.
I think tickets start at just $12.
Okay, so
$12.
$12.
Two things though.
Well,
Pickles
the
related.
industry discount's about half that, so it's actually like $5.50, $6.
Hey, to quote Waiting, membership has its privileges.
Two pickles related topics. At the end of July, I think we're supposed to do like an Odyssey Portland team outing out of the Pickles game to go catch a game over in the Hot Corner Suite, is what it's called.
I like that.
Bam.
We did not pay for that. I mean the naming for the suite itself. Paying for the suite, I don't know how that worked, but the naming, we did not brand that because of the show. And second pickles related thing, remember when John Ryan brought up the 10-cent beer night?
Hmm.
Dude,
We should go to that.
Can we?
Not so much that. Go back and read about that 10-cent beer night at the Cleveland game back in the 70s.
Oh, it's the name of my fantasy baseball team. I'm very aware.
You're familiar
my old
with
love.
the whole story?
It's my old love. I'm
Oh
very
my
familiar.
God. Dude, that I went through and read the wiki page and watched a couple videos on that today. That is one of the best things I have ever read or consumed in quite some time.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Surprised there wasn't a 90-minute documentary on just that one game.
I'm sure there is somewhere because the progression of the night itself and just how it ended, my God. Like, they definitely should have saw that coming.
So looking at teams that are going to attempt to make long distance runs, I was teased this the last segment. I said I got 6 teams, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I've got 6 teams in the American League that I think it can make a run. The Yankees, the Orioles. I like the Guardians more than anybody else in the Central. I think somehow miraculously they're hitting and their pitching, I think, is some of the best pitching in the American League. And then I'll turn to the West. I'll go the Mariners, who are in first. Texas are the reigning champs, and I'm not going to count out Houston yet. Objects in the rearview mirror are closer than they appear.
You're just going to admit the Royals?
I am going to admit the Royals.
Wow.
Okay.
I think we basically did last week. though.
I did say that they were my pick to be dangerous in the playoffs. I did pick them to win the Central.
Well-
So 7. All right. When you scroll over to the National League, it's Phillies, Dodgers. So when you're looking at teams like the Brewers, the Cubs, the Giants, the Padres, I'll throw the Braves in there now with Acuna injury. What is the biggest thing that these guys got to do to be able to catch up? You mentioned Corbin Carroll in the Arizona Diamondbacks, paging, can you please come play baseball? That would be important to them. But for some of these other teams, what's the team you're looking at that is close to there that needs a piece?
I would say that if the Cubs can get healthy, because that's been their biggest problem all year, is just keep having all their guys, having all their arms. And then I mean, either of those teams out of the West, I like the Giants to start the year. There is something about the Padres that are just like, maybe we're the fools, right? Maybe they really can make a run at the end of the season as long as you give them a chance.
Bogart's out for a very long time.
Very true. And that's where it's just like the uncertainty with these teams. Like there isn't like a for sure like they do this really good, so I feel confident that they can be in it at the end of the season. None of that team really has it for me. And the reason I say the Cubs is because we haven't seen them fully healthy this year to where I can feel like I say that no, they're not good when they are healthy. They're not good enough. It's just been inconsistent with their health that I feel like we haven't gotten the full Cubs picture this year.
Yeah, for me, there's something about the Giants and the Padres that just don't feel great. You know, I don't know if it's starting pitching. Like Darvish is looking really good right now. And, you know, you go to the Giants, you got Logan Webb, but outside of that, Hicks has been good for them. But I don't know if I really love that. Plus with Jung-Hoo Lee, who wasn't killing it, but like the offense is kind of built on a bunch of guys just kind of getting it done. Like the Brewers are the sexier version of the Giants, but I don't know if I love that starting rotation. I think I'm with you. I think this is the Cubs to have. I think they get healthy. They potentially have the best pitcher in the National League. Like, would you take Imanaga right now or Tyler Glasnow?
Yeah,
I'd probably take Glasnow because of the history. But
I like the hot hand.
But Imanaga looks absolutely incredible. I almost dropped an F-bomb there. Like, he looks absolutely incredible. The Braves, I think, are the interesting team. I don't know what to do if you're the Braves.
I think you just kind of
stay the course.
Yeah.
You lost Strider and you were like, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, I think that is you just basically say like, listen, this is a huge bump in the road, but we are World Series champions. We have a World Series manager. We have dude after dude on this roster still. We're not playing to our best of our ability, but that doesn't mean that we can't. And we still have some great arms. And so
Max Fried, Charlie Morton.
Chris Sale's playing great this year.
Is actually pitching well. So
I think that the Braves, well, I don't have confidence in them coming out of the National League at this point. Like I said, this is kind of seeming like a 2-horse race at this point. That's where I think they'd say they are staying the course and that they're not going to overreact to what's happening, and that hopefully that they can have guys just step up and start playing better than they have. Once you lose a guy, everybody has to raise their game. And so I feel like that has to be the message in the clubhouse to this team is, hey, we got to step it up, you guys.
Can you foresee somebody like Pittsburgh or Cincinnati or Arizona making a big push right now? Because that's National League Central is, I know you look at it and the Cubs are 3.5 behind the Brewers, the Cardinals are 4.5, the Pirates are 6, the Reds are 7.5. Can you see any of those guys like a Pirates, the Reds, or the Diamondbacks who are 8.5 behind the Dodgers? They're only 2.5 behind the Giants and Padres. Can you see any of those guys getting wild, getting hot?
Well, as soon as I said a couple weeks ago that maybe the Reds can make a run, they went and lost like 10 games in a row or something like that. And they can't score either. They can't hit the ball right now. I want to say that they have the second worst average in the league. So unless Elliot De La Cruz is getting on base and then taking everyone after that.
Cubs have a pretty bad average as well. They're down there near the Mariners and Reds also.
And the Pirates, they started off hot. I think they were 8-2 to start the year, and now they're 4 games below 500. Maybe their pitching is what propels them through the rest of the year. With Skeens, Jared Jones, and there's someone else on that staff I'm forgetting right now that is
Mitch
good
Keller?
for them. Yes, thank you. That maybe that 1 through 3 pitching rotation, like that's going to be able to propel them. And
there are definitely teams with worse starting 3 than that.
Right. So, and before the season, we liked the NL Central top to bottom.
We did.
We thought it was
really
going to be
did.
the most competitive division in baseball.
And maybe it still is.
I was going to say, it still has a chance to be that, you know, if the Reds can pull their head out of their arse and if the Pirates can kind of get back to that preseason form or that beginning of the season form. But again, it's just as far as like what team do I think has a chance to really push the Phillies or the Dodgers at this point?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I think that's the moral of the story. Is the answer is meh? I don't know.
I don't know, and I'm not feeling really confident about any of them.
I don't think any of those Central teams have a shot. I know that you think the Padres have problems, but if you look at them, even without Xander Bogaerts, they still have 3 other shortstops on their roster, a couple playing in the outfield. I think
So they lost a shortstop and still have 3. That means they have 4 total.
they still have 4 total. They brought in a second baseman in Arias, who I think's hitting almost 400.
He's actually insane for the Padres since he's been there.
Yeah, he's been amazing. Profar's having a career year for them.
That's true.
Yeah, Kim's holding it down, and we're not even talking about their starting pitching. It's actually sneaky good. Darvish, nobody talks about the addition of Cease from the White Sox this offseason.
He's been good, yeah.
Yeah, he's been nails for them. Their closer, Suarez, he's got like 17 saves and under 1 ERA. That kid, Matsui, who also another pickup from Japan, he's pitching well out of the bullpen. Like, they've actually got pieces, so I don't know if they keep playing to a sustainable, okay level. I think they're there in the National League because it's so weak.
We'll keep eyes on it and see what a week does to this league, because right now the American League looks like it is going to be the more fun playoff, but who knows? We'll see once these things go down. All right.
The Orioles, just say real quick, it's like they're one of the best teams in the major leagues. They're a first round team right now.
Yeah, they're a wild card team right now.
Yeah.
That's how stacked the American League is. All right, when we come back, it's everybody's favorite, fair or foul. But first, there's Schultze with sports.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Minnesota Timberwolves able to get it done in Game 4, salvage a game in the Western Conference Finals, 105-100 the final. They are still down in that series, 3-1, and Edwards going off to lead the way, 29 points for the T-Wolves. Cat with 25. Moving on to baseball, the first place Seattle Mariners trying to win back-to-back games against the Astros up at T-Mobile Park. Alex Bregman hitting a 2-run bomb earlier gives the Astros a 2-1 lead in the top of the 8th. Looks like there's 1 out, and Kyle Tucker batting with a runner on first right now. Taylor Saucedo pitching. We'll see if he can hold the Astros and get out of the inning with a double play. In college baseball, the regions for the Field of 64 officially set as the road to Omaha begins. Oregon State earning a host site. They're playing games in Corvallis starting on Friday against 4-seed Tulane. And the Ducks heading to Santa Barbara. They're a 3-seed in that region to face off against 2-seed San Diego. That's at noon on Friday. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
It's back. The 10th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Club happens Thursday, July 11th. Presented by Autotown GMC. Reserve your foursome now at 1080thefan.com.
Chill or grill on a new deck this season. Get a free Makita Bluetooth radio or
Is it fair or is it foul?
Fastball tapped at the plate. It'll trickle down the third baseline. The Mariners are going to let it roll.
A knowledge test to see how well they know the big leagues.
Lenny Randall gets down on his hands and knees and blows on it like a curler, and it goes foul.
And what our distinguished hosts think about the stories that popped up around the big leagues.
But he got down on his hands and knees and literally blew the ball across the foul line.
This is Fair or Foul on the Hot Corner on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome in. We do this every single Tuesday night at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. This is Fair or Foul with our 8-bit Nintendo music. If you're on YouTube, you can watch me dance to it. I pretty much dance at some point.
It's 90s rave music.
I look like a 48-year-old on weed at a rave party, so it looks really dumb. So tune into YouTube to check that out. Without further ado, we'll turn it over to our fantastic producer, Schultze.
Nothing wrong with the 48-year-olds at raves. They usually got the best drugs and the most money, right? Always true. Partying with money is so much more fun.
You talking about Trustafarians? Because they're all down at the Sphere right now watching The Dead.
That's
because
true.
I can't afford those tickets.
I was gonna say, how much did a ticket for that cost? Did you look it up?
Yeah, worst seats are like $450.
Oh my god.
Woof.
Yeah, woof indeed. Love live music, but not for that much.
I do think Old Man Walton did get a show at the Sphere.
That's cool. So we
I
get
think
to
he
see
caught
them.
one.
Hey, he got to meet Victor Wembanyama. He got a show at the Sphere. I mean, what didn't that guy get to do even in the last year of his life? Good Lord.
Fair or foul? Bill Walton really saw over 1,000 Grateful Dead shows. That was one of the claims.
I'll say fair.
I'll say foul.
1,000?
Foul. You're maybe 200 a year.
I mean, so what?
So if he
72?
went to-
No, he was 71. Passed at 71.
And they maybe play 200 a year. Maybe
Okay.
back in the 80s, 70s, maybe 200 a year.
And when did they first get big? Like late 60s? Early
They started in like 66, put out their first album in 67.
I mean, he's got to go to 50 shows a year for 20 years, essentially.
The band formed in 65, but as far as just when they started touring,
Yeah, like touring, you're talking 70, 71.
I don't know, that's a lot of years.
It's a lot of shows. 1,000 is a lot of shows.
I mean, he was injured a lot. Maybe he was hanging out at the Grateful Dead shows. I don't know.
The Rick Carlisle. Have you seen Rick Carlisle's
Yes, the story.
story about him and his future wife, his girlfriend? That one's great.
Dude, Bill Walton. Seriously, bringing people together. What a legend. Just everybody needs to aspire to be like that guy. All right, maybe recently demoted closer Edwin Diaz needs to aspire to be more like Bill Walton. Not going so well so far in New York this season, and that is after coming off of a pretty devastating injury after the World Baseball Classic. I believe he tore his ACL in one of his knees, celebrating that win. So fair or foul, guys? This stat, I just thought it was so funny, so I had to include it. Fair or foul? Recently demoted closer Edwin Diaz has more career saves with the Seattle Mariners than the New York Mets. Fair or foul?
Well, I'm going to say fair because he had, 59-60 in that season with the Mariners? What was it, 59 saves?
It was 57 or 58, I believe. I think it was 57.
I'm going to say he probably had more just in that one season than he ever did with the Mets.
That's fair.
That's fair. I mean, this is closer life.
Yeah,
you know?
57.
This is closer life. You know, you sell high, and teams that are desperate, I would argue Cohen and the Mets are desperate and are willing to sign guys for long-term deals. You know, it's like we kind of alluded to this last week with the Josh Hader thing about how he's managing his innings and that's part of his contract and stuff. He's the first guy to really see that closers, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with Miller in Oakland. Closers do their best work when they're not paid. Once they're paid, things get sketchy. Look at Kimbrel in Baltimore. No offense, Joe. Look at Jansen in Boston. Guys that get paid, it gets a little squirrely. I'll agree with Joe. I'll say fair.
All right, you guys, it is actually fair. Yeah, he had 109 saves total for the Mariners from 2016 to 2018. And then from 2019 to 2024 with the Mets, he only had 101. Now, of course, you know, you could
There's a
throw him-
COVID year, but
Yeah, there's the COVID year, but still, like he also missed a year because of injury. So the point is, the investment that the Mets made into this closer, not very good of a return. But hey, the Mariners didn't get really a great
I
return
was
either.
gonna say,
with
like, those
Jared
guys don't
Kelenic or
play on the
Justin
team
Dunn.
anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Do
So-
they have anybody left? I don't think they do.
So he has more as a Met than he did in that one season as the Mariners. Well, I guess that's
He
good.
does.
That's good for him.
Good for him.
Not even double, though. Not even double. All right. Fair foul number 2 on to, I would say, a Mariner that is dividing fans so far this year. First baseman, Ty France. So, guys, what do you think? Fair or foul? Ty France has had a higher batting average so far through this point in 2023. So, a year ago, fair or foul, Ty France had a higher batting average to this point of the season.
I'll start this. I think. Wait, rephrase the question again.
Yeah, so fair or foul, Ty France had a higher batting average so far through this point in 2023.
I will say foul. I think
Okay.
he has a higher batting average this year.
Okay.
I know it was a little tough in the beginning that Ty France seemed to have struggled, and the big talk was the change in his swing and stuff like that. But I do think he is playing better this year stat-wise than he was last year.
I'm going to say fair as well, because if my memory serves me correct, he did not start last year very well at all.
At all.
So, yes, I'm going to say this is foul, because the question is, was his
yep.
average better
Yeah.
last year
Kind
than
of a
his-
double
yeah,
negative
Yes, I am saying foul.
So you're both saying foul?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, that is incorrect. It is
Whoa!
actually fair. And this shocked me, y'all. Shocked me. He at this point this year hitting .244 with 6 home runs, 21 RBIs, .305 on-base percentage. Last season, on May 28th, .260, 5 homers, 24 RBIs, and a .348 on-base percentage. Did that offseason swing change really help? I know he had a baby. You know, I know he was gone for a little bit. I'm sure there's been distractions in the France household, no doubt. But what happened with the swing change? We're seeing almost worse stats this year.
Go trade for Paul Goldschmidt. Is Ryan O'Hearn available?
You wouldn't be a bad addition, but no, you can't have any Orioles players. Hands off.
Santander, I heard, might be available.
No, he's not. No one
because
is.
he's in a walk year.
No.
And he's not hitting well.
I don't care.
But he can't hit him.
Stay
play
away
first.
from
He
my
plays
Orioles.
outfield.
Damn it.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe.
That is a bit shocking, though, because France started off the season great, so a bit of a dip.
What it sounds
I knew
like,
that he wasn't playing as well, but I didn't think he was damn near below 240.
What it sounds like is fair or foul. Ty France is a crappy player more this year or last year, is what it sounds like to me.
And I don't really think that there's a difference. So I guess you would say fair, because if he didn't get any less crappy than last year,
He's just crappy.
yeah.
Well, and he got better as the season went on last year, I want to say.
Oh, finally. Yeah, he finally
Yeah.
started to kick into gear at one point. But,
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys are, Julio's a late starter. Ty goes through stretches. All right, asinine. But there, I wanted to point that out, guys. It's just crazy. Ty France, swing changes? I don't know. Fair or foul number 3, devastating injury to Ronald Acuna Jr. Tore his left ACL completely while running the bases. And that is, of course, 2 years after he tore his right ACL completely while in the outfield. Fair or foul, guys, Ronald Acuna Jr. must now shake off the injury-prone label after this second ACL tear.
I'll go. It's tough. It's tough. I think, when we talked about this in the first hour, and if you missed any of that, you can download that, the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, attending the Fan, the Odyssey app. I think Joe brings up a good point that he's young. You never know. But for me personally, both knees are reconstructed, and I think knees are different than elbows. I think guys that have elbow surgery can come back and be better. I'll say foul, but it is a very, very concerning foul. It is a very pessimistic foul. I'm worried. As somebody who doesn't gatekeep, but somebody who wants to be a part of the future of baseball and how we present this sport to everyone else, Acuna down again. I am pessimistically saying foul. I hope I'm wrong, or I hope I'm right. I don't think he's injury prone. I'm just scared.
Boy, there is a article I'm looking at right now that a lot of just little nicks and dings for Acuna over his career. That again, like the 2 ACL injuries, that's two things. But looking through this little timeline, he has had a lot of just neck here, pectoral tightness there, ankle injury here.
And some of those are nicks and bruises and stuff like that.
But I mean, there's a lot of bullet points on this article here that makes me not as optimistic as when we first started the show talking about it. I'm gonna say foul that he is not injury prone, or that he, however the question was phrased,
He must shake off the injury prone label.
Foul.
After a second ACL tear.
Foul for now. I mean, if it's just, still young, still a lot of career, I say one more of these injuries, then yeah, it's definitely a label that's going to be put on him. Because I think that's, Trout, that is part of his, part of him now. Like with his injuries over the year, and then starting the year as well as he did, and now maybe, and he's not going to be done for the year. He might get back in August or September, but again, it's just like, damn, dude, like you really just can't put it together for 2 straight seasons. So if you see this happen again with Acuna next year, where he has a big injury, where he's missing a huge chunk of games, up to 40 to 60% of them, or even more, then yeah, I think that label is justified then.
2 knees are tough, but I feel like with him, because of his quality, his athleticism, you feel like he can shake it off.
Mariners just took a lead, by the way. First, a Josh Rojas double to tie it up at 2, and then a Julio Rodriguez single, and then a throwing error to give the Mariners the lead 4-2. Bottom 8 over Houston.
Shout out my buddy Todd Burdett, who is up at the games. He is taking in the 3-game set. He gets Castillo, Gilbert, and Kirby against the Astros. That, my friend, is living life.
All cheap tickets this week, too. They're doing value games, so you can get in for $10. It's just, I love they do that. They got the $4.50 Miller High Lifes up there. I'm jealous of your friend, man. Very jealous. Actually, Fair Foul number 4 involves a Houston Astro, the team that the Mariners are playing right now. What a great season for Kyle Tucker, having a career year so far, hitting .276, 18 home runs, 39 RBIs, on pace to set a career high in home runs. He's only hit 30. That was back in 21 and 22. Matched that both seasons. So, guys, Fair Foul. Houston Astros outfielder Kyle Tucker will hit 50 home runs this season.
Ooh, I'll go first on this. I'll tell you what. It's wild. I remember when the Astros were kind of doing the Astros thing, and it's Bregman and Correa and Altuve and Springer and Verlander and Greinke and Cole, and then you transfer into the next window where you got Framber Valdez, Yordan Alvarez. Kyle Tucker was the number 1 prospect, and they said he was better than Bregman, better than Springer, better than Alvarez, better than Valdez, and all that stuff. Kyle Tucker might be the American League version of Mookie Betts, in the sense of you don't realize he's the best player in the game because Mookie plays with Shohei Ohtani, and New York has Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and, all the kids other places. But there is a very good chance that Kyle Tucker for the next 5 years is the best player in the American League. I'll say foul. I don't think he'll hit 50 home runs, but I will say it as a compliment to him that he is more than just a home run hitter. I think Kyle Tucker might be a top 3 player in baseball, and that's including Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani.
So he's got 18 home runs through 54 games. You times that.
Carry the
5.
He's on pace to hit like 60
Square root
right
of
now.
16. carry over the 12.
A couple 3 trash cans.
Back around, times out by his war.
Chug a
Then
beer.
there's the 5 buzzers.
Divided by his B war and his barrel rate.
I'm gonna
at
say
his
penis
fair.
size. Wait, what?
You're gonna say fair.
I'm gonna say fair, just because I want to be optimistic that these things are gonna happen. I believe Jordan asked a few weeks ago if Ellie De La Cruz was gonna get 100 steals,
No, that was.
or was it 90? I think it was a hundo.
I actually pointed out that he himself had like more stolen bases than the White Sox team.
Yeah, I just want these things to happen where dudes are putting up big numbers. So I say fair to put that energy out into the solar fields that Kyle Tucker will hit 50 home runs.
Have you ever been to a volcano?
All right, that is fair or foul. We do it every single Tuesday at the bottom there. When we come back, we'll wrap this bad boy up. Hot Corner, 10 of the Fan.
It's the Fan on demand.
They're kind of fun to
Come back next week. We'll share our experience at the Pickles on June 3rd, which is this coming Monday.
Rocking out with our pickles out.
We're walking out with our pickles out on Pack 2 Remembrance Night and
Mine-
Service Industry Night, so I'm double dipping.
Mine is more of a gherkin size, but, you know, it's not the size of the pickle. It's how it tastes.
How it comes out of the jar.
Yeah, there you go. That's much better.
How it's preserved.
That's really good stuff.
I'll be on the mound with a Wazoo hat, as I must lay claim. You know what's funny is this Bill Walton thing. It's like everybody's decided now that Bill Walton's dead, the Pac-12 is truly dead, even though it was dead like 6 months ago.
Well, I mean, yeah, everyone and their grandma was saying that yesterday. The day that the Pac-12 is done, Bill Walton passes
Now
away
he
too.
did love us. We are the
He did,
Conference of
man.
Champions.
He was, he was the biggest supporter.
Don't you dare relate to the Pac-12.
What are you talking about?
Well, you're a sellout and left.
I did not do anything. Thank USC and UCLA for starting all this. Thank Bill Walton's school. It was his fault, basically.
I'm not blaming Bill Walton for anything.
And blame Colorado also, because Colorado made the move before.
Johnny come latelys.
Colorado.
They did nothing for our conference. Pac-10 for life.
Not until like the last season, but they
Should have got Texas, Oklahoma. That would have been huge.
Yeah, I blame.
Remember when that was going around?
Oh yeah, the Pac Super Conference 16.
That
that
would have
is
so big.
pretty-
Should have pulled the trigger on that. Thanks, Obama.
Pretty wild how quickly things changed over a 10 to 15 year time frame.
But Joe, let's get out of here on some baseball stuff. So I noticed this: the Washington Nationals DFA'd Victor Robles, who was a homegrown prospect for them, helped them win a World Series in 2019. They DFA'd him. If he clears waivers, he will get sent down to AAA, but he has the choice to become a free agent. He will most likely do that. And then go sign with a team to go play somewhere else. I wouldn't be shocked if the Braves sign him.
Mariners.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Giants sign him. There's a bunch of teams that could use him, although he's not been playing very well. Joe, he was one of 3 players that was part of the 2019 Nationals World Series team. Can you name the other 2?
Well, I can't now because we talked about it in the commercial.
Well,
break,
I know, but I was setting you up. You should have not said that. I was setting you up to be smart.
Well, I already forgot the first guy. I know
Well,
that was
Tanner Rainey is one of them, but you would have never guessed that. He's a relief pitcher. You would have never guessed that.
Yeah, it was quite shocking when you told me this one because I'm like, oh my God, that's right. He's still playing. Not great, but still playing. Patrick Corbin.
Patrick Corbin.
I guess playing is a description for it. God, the Nationals is like a roster of misfit toys. Good Lord.
That's what's really, really wild about Patrick Corbin is he is still there. He makes a boatload of money. And currently, right now in 2024, he has an ERA. Where are you? He has an ERA of 6.12. He is 1-5. He has started 11 games.
Dear
and is
God.
6.12.
Since that 2019 World Series season, in 2020, 4.66 ERA, 2021, 5.82, 2022, 6.31, and 23, 5.20, and then this year, a 6.12 ERA. He has not had a lower ERA than 4.66, and that was in the shortened 2020 season.
They're going to make him earn his money, right?
And in 2019, they signed him to a 6-year deal. He will be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. They signed him to a 6-year deal.
He's like the Tobias Harris of MLB, getting paid way too much for little to no output.
In 2019, he made $12.9 million. In 2020, he made 7.4. That's COVID.
Oh, well, okay.
2021, he made 24.4, then 23.4, 24.4, and this year he makes a clean $25 million.
Dude, no, that's not okay. We should be taking money from players when they underperform.
This is why it's honestly,
give me back at least 10 mil of that.
Honestly, I think it's better to be a pitcher than any other position in baseball. Because it's like he had 1-2 good years in Arizona, and the Nationals were like, we want to win a World Series. We'll give you 6 years, $1,000 billion. And he took it. You can't cut him.
I'm having flashbacks.
You might as well throw him out there. You're not good. By the way, they're third in the East. Just want to throw that out there.
Still have a chance for the worst record in the
Just wanna
MLB.
throw it out there.
I'm having flashbacks of Chris Davis right now, and I don't like it.
All right, that'll do it for us. When we come back next week, we'll check in. We'll keep you all updated on everything. Thank you for being part of the show today. Again, just a massive shout out to Bill Walton and everything you did for us in Portland and for me as a deadhead.
Possible tease for next week? Keep an eye on the run differential in the American League West.
Ooh, I like that. We'll dive into that. We'll dive into that next week. For Jordan Schultz behind the glass, that's Joe Fisher. I'm Patrick Harris. Go do something I would do.
Get a great deal on select Kubota equipment. The BX Series is the #1 selling subcompact tractor in the U.S. The versatile lineup is built to help you make the most of your land. Right now at participating dealers, get a Kubota compact tractor for $0 down, 0% APR for up to 60 months, plus up to $2,300 on select equipment.